Hi guys! This week it was announced that the network CBS had not picked up one of its more talked about pilots for the upcoming season, a show called Drew. This show is a modernisation of the story of Nancy Drew, starring the character of Nancy in her 30s working for the police. Though it has been denied by the President Network, the rumoured reason behind the rejection of this show was that when it was tested on audiences, the show skewed to female. CBS has denied this, saying that they had a number of promising pilots to choose from and they chose what they felt was the best one. But this news has sparked a really interesting debate online as to what it means for a TV show to be too female. If we put that another way, what they're basically saying is at least half the population identified with this show, it just wasn't the right half of the population. Not only has CBS come under fire for that particular rumour, but the show had also been praised for the fact that it had cast actress Sarah Shahi in the lead role. Sarah Shahi is an American actress with an Iranian father and a Spanish mother, so people felt that not only was it a show with a lead female, but it was also good for racial diversity. Now, just let me grab my notes here till I get these statistics right. According to Boxed In, which is a report from the Centre for the Study of Women in Television and Film, between 2014 and 2015, only 39% of characters in CBS between 2014 and 15 were women, while the average is still a problematic 42% across the networks. And across the networks in general, 77% of female characters in programming were white. One saving grace of this situation is a show that they did pick up instead, which is a legal drama called Doubt. It's going to star Laverne Cox, who is a trans actor, as a trans character who's going to be a series regular. So that is a really promising thing and something that we haven't really seen much of before, seeing trans actors actually playing trans characters who are full-time permanent characters, not brought in for an episode here or there. So that is a saving grace. Now, funnily enough, this news actually all broke round about the time that I was already planning a video on gendered television. A few days ago, I'd stumbled across a report over on 538, which I will link in the description box down below, which had the title, "Men are sabotaging the online reviews of TV shows aimed at women." Now, I thought that this was quite an interesting and controversial topic for a report, so I went on to read it, and its findings were certainly very interesting. The report examined the ways that men and women rate television shows on the site IMDb, and it picked up on some really interesting trends. The study looked at the shows with the highest number of ratings across the board, and it found that when it came to the top rated shows, so the shows with the highest ratings, the gender of the people rating the show actually didn't have a massive impact. Shows with an average rating of above 9.0 on IMDb, voted by both men and women, included Game of Thrones, Sherlock, The Wire, Breaking Bad, True Detective, Arrested Development, Last Week Tonight and Firefly. Differences were found in that women on average rated Friends above a 9, Freaks and Geeks above a 9, QI above a 9 and Doctor Who above a 9, while discrepancies in the male ratings was that they voted shows like The Sopranos, Fargo, the animated Batman series and Seinfeld above a 9. However, in general, the shows with these high scores tended to be pretty balanced across genders. When it came to the biggest variations in score, however, that's when things got a little bit interesting. Now, the average score for an English language television show on IMDb at the moment with over 1,000 ratings is 7.3. The study went on to examine the shows with the biggest variations, so the shows that men voted significantly lower than women and the shows that women voted significantly lower than men. The way that they did this was they looked at shows that had an above 1 point, so 1 full point on the scale of a difference. When it came to this, they found that there were 2 shows that women voted at least 1 full point lower than men. These shows were Beavis and Butthead and Star Wars Clone Wars. Both of these shows were voted 1 or more lower on average by women than men. When it came to the shows that were voted lower by men, however, there were 50 of them. And within that 50 shows, there are some pretty major television series. On that list, you'll find Grey's Anatomy, Glee, Gilmore Girls, Nashville, Empire, The L Word, The Vampire Diaries, Desperate Housewives, Outlander, Pretty Little Liars and Sex and the City. The study put a bit of a focus on Sex and the City as a really good example of how much of an impact this can have. Sex and the City, whatever you might think of it, as is discussed in this particular article, regardless of the content of the show, could arguably be one of the most influential shows in the television canon over the past couple of decades. The show ran for 6 full seasons, it won 7 Emmys and a whole bunch of Golden Globes and Screen Actors Guild Awards. It has 2 movies, it has a spin-off television series, and it paved the way for a whole new genre, really, of television shows that came after it, like Lipstick Jungle and Kashmir Mafia, that follow that young women in New York type genre. It was a hugely influential show with 4 very talented lead female actresses. Now, the average score, as I said, for a show on IMDb with over 1,000 ratings is 7.3. Sex and the City has an average rating of 7.0. So how can a show that is arguably one of the most important shows over the past few years, a show that paved the way for practically a whole new genre and won so many awards and has spin-off series, how can that have a below average rating? It can have a below average rating because Sex and the City was voted on average 2.3 points lower by male viewers than it was by women. Now, considering 60% of IMDb ratings are posted by men, so this was just a study looking at people who identified as male or female on their IMDb profile. Now, with 60% of the people who are putting these ratings on being male, that can make a huge difference to the rating of a television show. Now, I'm not saying that IMDb's average scorings are the be-all and end-all of a television show. Of course they're not. Ratings and critical acclaim and everything that happens to a show while it airs is of course really important. But lists like these do have their importance. They're things that people turn to look to assign value to a show, and it's incredibly unfair to just kind of pare this down to a numbers game, and it shouldn't be that. And a numbered rating, a 7.3 rating on IMDb, shouldn't tell you about the value of a television show. But it is a way that people research television, and it is a way that people look into what shows we value the most and what shows we think are the most important. And if we look at these shows that men are consistently voting lower than women are, one very common trend in these shows is that the lead actors in these shows and the lead characters whose lives are explored in these shows are female. Now, what I don't agree with this article is the kind of controversial wording of the title, where it says men are sabotaging the online reviews. I think the word sabotaging is probably not the best choice of word, because I don't believe for a minute that men are going onto IMDb and sitting laughing behind their computer screens going, ha ha ha, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to downvote Sex and the City and Pretty Little Liars and Gilmore Girls just to annoy the women out there. I think that it's incredibly important. In fact, it's not just incredibly important, it's vital that we are representing everyone and a huge wide range of people in television shows today. We need to be making television that speaks to all genders and races and ages and people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. We need to be making shows that give representation to people from all walks of life and not just focused on one gender or one race or one age group. That's not what we should be doing. We should be trying to open up television to represent as many different people as we possibly can. But what I think is being backed up by this report over on 538 and CBS's rejection of the show Drew is this inherent idea that women's stories can only be of interest to women. I think that that's the problem here. As I say, I don't think that men are going on to IMDb and having fun downvoting programmes that are aimed at women. I think that this just really highlights the way that we're socially conditioned to see and experience and understand gender. Women are actively encouraged to be interested in the stories of men, and it doesn't even have to be that we're actively encouraged to see it that way, because such a high percentage of stories that are told in film and in television are the stories of men. Whereas I think that there's a certain stigma and shame attached to men openly talking about enjoying programmes that are very specifically marketed and directed towards women. We have to have these shows because we have to speak to the experiences of women, and we have to speak to the experiences, as I say, of every group of people. So that's why we have these shows that are very obviously marketed at women, because we're saying here's a piece of television that has been made hopefully by women for women to speak about your experiences. But why, because a show is specifically marketed towards women and telling the stories of women, does that automatically mean that men shouldn't be interested? I feel like rather than going on and saying, men, stop going on and giving poor ratings to women's television shows, shouldn't we be saying, this is a show that tells the story of X character, they are this gender, they are this age, they are this race, this is their story. It is aimed at that type of person, it is aimed at people who can identify with that to speak to their experiences. but everyone should watch it. It doesn't help us move forward in the world. I feel like television has such an amazing opportunity to, much like all other forms of, you know, storytelling, has this amazing opportunity to introduce us to characters who are not like us and who we don't have the life experiences of. So for CBS or for anybody to imply that there is such a thing as a show that skews to female is incredibly insulting, because it suggests that the only people who are going to be interested in the story of a woman are women, and that's not how it should be. Unfortunately, we're far from there yet, but we should be getting to a point where it doesn't matter who the lead character in a show is, whether they identify as male or female or non-binary, or whether they're a trans character. Whoever this character is, we should be interested in learning about them and learning about their stories. We should be creating representation for all people from all backgrounds, from all walks of life, and we should all be interested in their stories. It seems incredibly unfair that the shows that are made for women to speak to women's experiences, if they are getting lower ratings because of how we are socially conditioned to see gender, seems so unfair, because these shows are valuable and they are important, and they are just as much an important part of the television canon as any show with a male lead. And it just frustrates me if they're going to be being downrated purely because their primary appeal is to a female audience. When we look at the shows that got those top ratings on IMDb, they are shows like Sherlock and Breaking Bad and The Wire and True Detective. These are shows that foreground male experience, and they're getting very high reviews from both men and from women. So why is it that so often, I mean, there's not one show in those top rated television shows that has a primary female lead. There are shows that were voted higher by women, like Friends and Downton Abbey, that have men and women in their leads, but the ones that got those highest scores are either an ensemble cast with both, so things like Game of Thrones, or shows like Breaking Bad and The Wire, where the main people, so if we're talking main people, let's talk front of the DVD box. These stories who are being told are male character stories, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as we are placing equal value on the stories of women. Okay, I think that I am done. That is my rant over. I wrote lots of notes for this video, which I never do, which you might have been able to tell because I feel like it was a lot more stilted than my usual kind of chatty videos, but I had to write like loads of notes down so that I could stay on track, because otherwise I would have gone off on a tangent. But anyway, let me know in the comments down below what you think about this. I would really love to know if you are someone who is a male television viewer, you identify yourself as a male television viewer, have you ever experienced any sort of shame or stigma attached to admitting to being a fan of a show with a sort of lead female cast? So if you are a fan of a show like Pretty Little Liars or Sex and the City or Gilmore Girls, have you ever felt that you're looked down on in any sort of way for identifying with those shows? And I would also just love to know what you think about this Drew situation. It has apparently been optioned for other networks, so I really do hope that someone else picks it up, because I think it could be a really great show and I would really be keen to see it actually on the air. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about this. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up to let me know, because I want to do more kind of chatty industry type videos like this in the future. I'm going to leave links in the description box down below to the boxed in report that I talked about, because it's very, very interesting. It doesn't only look at female characters but at female employment within the industry, so it gives you percentage breakdowns of how many female writers are employed, how many female directors, producers, that kind of thing, and the impact that that has, because it's very interesting the impact that that then has on the number of female characters that are written into the show. There's a definite correlation there, so go and have a look at that. I'll leave that and a link to the 538 report on the IMDb reviews in the description box below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button, because I'm going to be back with lots more videos like this in the future. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope that you're having a great week, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye! And I have watched lots of different trailers and read up on lots of different shows that are going to be starting, and I thought that I would share with you 6 of the TV shows coming out this fall that I am